Hey, my name is Chalene Johnson. Welcome to The Chalene Show, where today I'm going to share with you what I eat in a week, my favorite go-to recipes, and kind of how I phase my diet right now. Oh, and by the way, we will be talking about macros, calories, cheat meals, and alcohol. Stay tuned. First, I have to say, this is perhaps the number one requested video that I get. People are always saying, will you please share with us what you eat in a day? I'm not a fan of the what I eat in a day videos because I think they can be very triggering for some people. And I also think that how one person eats isn't how everybody else needs to eat. So that's why I've decided today to share with you what I eat in a week and some of my favorite recipes. Keep in mind, I'm not a registered dietitian. We don't have the same nutritional needs, but I am going to give you some, I think, great ideas on how you can add more protein to your diet. So if you're new to the Chalene Show, you may not know that in the course of the last year, I've lost 10 pounds and 10% body fat during a period of a woman's life, menopause, which many believe it's almost impossible to drop body fat. And I did so without dieting, but for sure, I phased my diet. So I made some dietary changes, and I'm going to share those with you today. I'm going to break down how I start my day. I'm going to break down my favorite breakfast, lunch, dinner, some of the snacks that I absolutely am obsessed with. I'm also going to share with you what I eat when we go out to dinner. And we go out to dinner a lot, like 3 to 4 times a week. Now, if you're listening to this episode or watching this episode on YouTube and you're looking for like some great, like family friendly recipes and like a cooking show, yeah, I'm not your girl. So in full transparency, I am horrible in the kitchen. For the love of God. So if I'm eating a home-cooked meal, like right now, my husband is in the kitchen cooking dinner. He's the chef. Your girl, however, is fantastic at putting things in bowls. So I'm going to share with you in this particular episode how I feed myself when my chef is unavailable. Because sometimes we just have to make do. Sometimes we have to find a way to look forward to our meals, even when our culinary skills have much to be desired, which is putting it nicely. First, I want to break down some of the general principles that I'm using right now as I phase my diet. And this just kind of helps you to understand the approach that works for me. But again, I want to reiterate, this is how I'm phasing my diet right now. That's not to say it's ideal for you. Right now, I'm following some really basic principles. And I want to say this, rules are for fools. That's how I feel about it. I am no longer the kind of person who needs a very structured rule, here's what I must do every day for every meal. You must get in 5 servings of I can't do it anymore. That does not work for me, although it may work for you. I don't like food rules. I don't like diets. I have a diet and I believe in structure, but for me personally, the more dogmatic the rules, the less healthy it is for me. So I try to start most meals with a healthy protein. And by healthy, I mean, I'm talking grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I'm talking things that are as least processed as possible. However, I am a recovered orthorexic, which means, well, let me give you the definition of orthorexia before we go much further. Orthorexia is defined as an obsession with proper or healthy eating, characterized by a fixation on the quality rather than the quantity of food. It often leads to extreme behaviors like cutting out food groups and avoiding certain ingredients. And your girl was once there. I used to let it control my thoughts. And it would seem that focusing on healthy ingredients is a good thing. And it is a healthy thing if it's healthy for you. But I think you know that it's gone to a place where it's no longer healthy when it's controlling your ability to enjoy social interactions, when you forget that moderation's okay, when you're so consumed with the ingredients or having control and knowing absolutely everything that's going into your food that you no longer can enjoy your food. And so today, if I'm going to a restaurant and I'm not going to ask the chef what oils they cook with. I live in moderation today. I believe that the other lifestyle choices that I make balance out some of the perhaps less than healthy things that I end up consuming. But I enjoy my life, and I'm healthier today than I was when I was obsessed with healthy ingredients. So again, I try to start every meal with a healthy protein. Then my next focus is fiber. I want to get in more fiber. And this is especially important for menopausal and perimenopausal women. So basically any woman over age 35 should really think about, like, how can I get more fiber into my diet? And this is important because number one, it helps with gut diversity. Number two, it helps with metabolic flexibility. Number three, it helps with regulating our blood glucose levels. And this is especially important for women who are struggling with hormonal weight gain. Oftentimes, we don't even realize that our food choices impact our gut health. They impact the way that our bodies store fat, regulate insulin, and rev up our metabolism. I also like fiber because it helps us to feel fuller longer, as does protein. I mean, think about it. If you were to consume 1,000 calories of soda, which isn't that hard to do, like one of those big giant, like big gulp things, versus 1,000 calories of chicken, you would be so full eating 1,000 calories worth of chicken. Versus drinking 1,000 calories worth of soda, you would just have to run to the bathroom, but you wouldn't be full. You wouldn't be satisfied. There's a big difference between how calories from protein and calories from fiber make us feel versus calories from empty carbohydrates. And the final principle that I keep in mind each day is the timing of my meals. I currently practice what I like to call a very loose approach to menopausal intermittent fasting. More on that later. It's at this point in the video where I would normally grovel and beg for you to subscribe here on YouTube, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that, you know? I think I'm above it. Am I above begging for people to subscribe? I'm not above it. I'm actually not above it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm begging you to subscribe. If, of course, you found this useful. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I start my day with what I like to call my vitamin mix. So in my water, I mix collagen, creatine, my brain supplements, my immunity supplements, and my magnesium. Now, I've done a previous episode where I broke down all of the supplements that I take, why I take them. Again, that's not to say that you need to take all the supplements that I take, but this is the first thing that I consume each day, and this technically is what I use to break my fast. And by fasting, I mean I've gone through the night, or since my last meal the day before, through the night, and now typically this is going to be the first calories that I have typically in the morning. Now, to talk about intermittent fasting. For myself personally, I am practicing intermittent fasting right now, but in a very loose way. And here's what I mean by that. I generally stop eating around, say, 8 o'clock each night, and then I don't have my first meal until like 2 to 3 hours after I've woken up. Sometimes it might be even 4 hours after I wake up. When I say loosely, I don't set a time, and I don't fast for a certain number of hours. I fast as long as feels natural and comfortable for me. I no longer prescribe to the belief that, like, okay, if it's 12 o'clock and I'm starving, I don't get to eat until it's 12:30 because not enough time has passed. Like if I'm hungry, I eat. And a lot of times people will ask, well, how many hours should I fast in order for my body to create autophagy? There's still a lot of research that we need to, human trials that we need to have with regard to autophagy. And autophagy is amazing for longevity. I also believe that intermittent fasting is really important, especially for menopausal women. Ideally, we want to give our body time to rest without food. We really weren't designed to be eating 17, 18 hours a day. So by limiting the window in which I eat, I've noticed it's so much easier. I've got so much more energy that way. I don't think about it. It's not a strict rule for me. Again, I go based on how I feel. And some days I wake up really early and I'm just not hungry until almost lunchtime. And there are other days when I wake up and I wake up hungry, so I eat. And when I say eat, I mean like eat a meal. But every day, within like 2 to 3 hours after waking up, I am breaking my fast, technically, with this mix that I put all of my supplements into my water. And I personally do this because I am, it's like pill fatigue. Like you get sick of taking like all these, supplements in pill form. So a lot of my favorite supplements, those companies manufacture them in a powder form too. And I just find it delicious and it helps me to stay hydrated. And staying hydrated is a really big part of my day. I drink so many bottles of water because we know that chronic dehydration leads to bloating. It leads to improper storage of body fat. Like our bodies feel like we're under attack when we are dehydrated. So get in the habit of walking around with your water bottle. Now I'm going to share with you some of my favorite breakfast items. Check this out. Okay, this one is like an egg salad sandwich, but I like to eat it with crackers. I'm super lazy, so I buy my organic hard-boiled eggs already hard-boiled for me. Then I take 2 whole eggs and 4 egg whites. Then I just kind of dice them all up. Add a tablespoon of this Primal Kitchen mayo. It is so yummy. But for extra added protein, I add some Greek yogurt. And you just stir it all together. You add some salt and pepper. I try to get in greens at every single meal, so I'm going to add some spinach diced up into this mixture. Sometimes I will eat it on toasted Ezekiel bread, but today I'm having my Mary's Gone crackers and just kind of dipping it in. And I just love to dip crackers into things. Are you with me? This one is 42 grams of protein, 450 calories, and about 5 grams of fiber. Now let me share with you some of my favorite ways to get a lot of protein in by putting a bunch of my favorite things into a bowl, because your girl is a mixologist. This one has about 38 grams of protein, about 280 calories. For this one, I start with about, a cup and a half maybe of Greek yogurt. Now you could mix real peanut butter with this or almond butter if you want. Today I'm using powdered peanut butter, and I like to mix it with some water so it's a little bit more of almost a syrupy consistency. I really prefer for all of my meals to feel like they are dessert. So of course I add stevia. Then, a handful of berries. I went with blueberries today, but I love raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. Some form of berries on top makes this taste like a PB&J. And when I'm feeling really sassy, I add Cocoa Whip, mix that in, and then throw some of this Catalina Crunch keto-friendly honey graham cereal on top, and it will add 11 grams of protein. Okay, you're going to freaking love this one if you like pumpkin pie and you have a sweet tooth. So remember, I don't measure anything, but this one is approximately 40 grams of protein and about 350 calories. First, we're going to spoon in about 3/4 of a cup of the Greek yogurt. Then we're going to mix in about 3/4 of a cup of the cottage cheese. Then you want to stir in about, 3 giant tablespoons of the organic pumpkin puree. Then about 2 tablespoons of Cocoa Whip, which is so delicious, so yummy, made from coconut milk. Then, depending on how sweet you want it, you can add packs of stevia or whatever sweetener you're comfortable with. If you've got some on hand, some pumpkin pie spice really just takes us to the next level. And of course, we mix it all together and top it off with some Lily's milk chocolate chips. And of course, breakfast is great for dinner too. Dinner's great for breakfast. You can have chicken and rice for breakfast if you want, or you could have eggs and avocado for dinner. Who says we have to eat certain foods at certain times? Although I do find that I always crave eggs in the morning. Do you remember the big salad episodes from Seinfeld? Well, that is a staple in my diet every week, multiple times per week. And one thing I love to do is make a big salad with other people. So whether my kids are visiting or a couple of my girlfriends, or it's myself and Brett and Jess and we're all in the kitchen, this is something I love to do with a group. So you just pull out a couple of chopping boards, you pull everything out of your fridge that is a veggie or a fruit or can be thrown in a salad. And I bought this really cool salad chopper slicer machine that I found on TikTok. It actually works. I'm not sure how long it will last, but I just chop up everything I have. Cucumbers, a variety of mixed greens, red bell peppers, tomatoes. You can throw fruit in there or crackers. Just everything that sounds delicious in a salad. My thing is, I love things to be finely chopped. It's just a great way to connect in the kitchen. It actually starts your digestive process. If you are chopping and prepping your food, your body starts to get your digestive juices flowing, so you're going to digest your food even better. This is lots of protein, it's lots of fiber, it's lots of greens, it's all unprocessed for the most part, and I just think if you've got pre-cooked chicken on hand or pre-cooked steak on hand, you're golden. It takes no time. It tastes delicious. And you don't even have to use dressing. A lot of times I will either just smash up an avocado, which is very high in fiber. That's also considered a fruit. Or I will mix in some hummus. Oh my gosh, hummus in a salad, so good. It's really about getting your salad wet, which you can do with tomatoes, hummus, avocado, extra virgin olive oil. You don't always have to go just to a dressing, but of course you can if you prefer. We love to make these chicken tacos. You can make them as chicken tacos. You can make them as breakfast tacos. The brand that we love is called Sautéed. We buy their almond flour tortillas. You just warm them up a little bit in the skillet, and then you can scramble up some eggs, maybe brown some ground turkey. You throw that together with some greens, a little bit of salsa, maybe a little bit of cheese. Oh my gosh, these are so good. And they're so easy. It takes 5 minutes, and they're delicious. Super high in protein. They have a little bit of crunch. They work for lunch, dinner, breakfast, you name it. All right, I start this one off with skipjack wild caught tuna. I mix in a tablespoon, sometimes a teaspoon of the Primal mayo, but the real protein hack is to add Greek yogurt. I just eyeball it. I don't measure anything, but this is about 2 tablespoons, I think, of Greek yogurt. Mix that all together. Then you add some salt and pepper, but then add sweet pickle relish. And it's like taking it to the next freaking level. Then I toast up 2 pieces of Ezekiel bread, lay down a little bed of spinach, plop my tuna fish right on top, and voila. Some of my favorite things to make for dinner include, I would say 1 to 2 nights a week, we have a delicious either filet mignon or just a really great piece of red meat. I know some of you are vegan, so I do apologize, but we always do grass-fed, grass-finished with a vegetable. Brett loves broccoli. I hate broccoli. I love spinach. I literally cannot get enough spinach sautéed in lemon. But in addition to that, I like asparagus. I love a purple potato. I love sweet potatoes. And I even love and eat French fries on the regular. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but like, it's you manage your energy. And if you're eating a lot of protein first and making sure you get your greens and your proteins first, then you won't be as likely to overdo it when it comes to your starchy carbohydrates and your other treats. You know what I'm saying? Dude, long are the days where I have sworn off any food or any food group. If I want it, I eat it. But I always start first with my protein and my greens, and then I'm less likely to overdo it in other areas. Moderation. I'm going to start with Banza protein pasta, and you're going to have to boil that, and you're going to have to watch it, okay? And I didn't. And see, and this is why I should not be this is why I shouldn't cook anything. I can't even make pasta. But anyways, I did. And this makes 4 servings. We're going to make a little casserole that basically serves 2 people or 2 servings. So I'm taking half the pasta. The other half I'll just set it aside for later. Then I'm going to dice up some tomatoes. I do not need you to judge my cutting skills. Don't worry. I'm not going to cut myself. I'm fine. I forgot to film it, but I put 4 ounces of lean ground turkey in a skillet, browned it up. I'm going to throw that on top of the pasta. I'm going to throw my tomatoes on top of the pasta. I'm going to mix my tomato paste into the pasta. You thought I forgot my greens. Absolutely not. So then I dice up a bunch of spinach, which is my favorite. Throw that in there. I did some 3 Italian cheese. I don't know. What is that, like a half a cup? Put that in there, mix it in, put a little bit on top, threw it in the oven at 350, and you've got to stay in the kitchen so that it doesn't burn up. It was probably in there for like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Keep your eye on it. Dude, this one has 46 grams of protein, about 550 calories. All I know is I should probably open up an Italian restaurant. Okay, so this one, I start with cauliflower rice, and they've got this really yummy one at Sprouts that's like flavored with pesto. So I start with that, and I think it makes like 2 servings. So I take like half the servings, and then I use pre-cooked chicken. I know it looks like French fries if you're watching the video. Those are not French fries. It's just the way that the chicken is chopped. This bowl is definitely Mediterranean inspired, so we're going to add some feta cheese. I don't know, like probably 2 teaspoons, and then I'm going to add a bunch of black olives. Yum. Then I do a half of avocado. I squeeze in a bunch of lime, and then just mix it all together. You cannot even believe how good this is. And it's you just throw it in a bowl. I mean, bam. And anytime you add chicken to a meal, you're going to get extra protein. So this one's probably like 35 grams of protein and under 300 calories. Now, as I mentioned, Brett and I go out to dinner like probably 3 or 4 nights a week. I know that's kind of crazy. And even when we do that, I still put those same principles into practice. So I first start with like, okay, what on the menu sounds delicious, is a healthy form of protein, typically lower in fat, but not necessarily. As long as it's higher in protein, I start with that. And then I'll modify the menu. I mean, almost any restaurant you go to, if they've got veggies on there, that's what I ask for instead of whatever it's served on top of it, some kind of starchy vegetable. I usually will skip that and ask if they can saute some spinach for me, or for some of you who like broccolini. I hate broccolini, but like that's a great choice. Or asparagus, mushrooms, or just a green salad. I love ordering wild-caught fish, grass-fed and grass-finished beef. I love a good steak. I freaking love ceviche. And when we do sushi, I typically will just do it sashimi style, which is like, it's just the fish. Sure, sometimes I'll have a roll that's rolled in rice too. That's okay. I mean, for me, it's moderation. I'm thinking about the protein that I get first. Typically, when we're at a nice restaurant, we don't have them bring bread to the table. Instead, what we'll do is have French fries. Like, because we're okay with having French fries a couple times a week, I think it's because we no longer restrict ourselves and say like those are off limits, that, you know, we have a couple French fries or more than a couple French fries. Okay, fine. We have a couple handfuls of French fries. But, you know, that's okay for us. Like, it's about moderation. And even by having French fries a couple times a week, I mean, not like a huge thing. Okay, sometimes it's a huge thing. But you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I'll have like 5 or 6 French fries, they're big, and sometimes I'll eat the whole thing. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for. And for me personally, this form of moderation is much healthier. Now, you need to know what foods are your trigger foods. So like, if when you have French fries, you can't stop, well, then maybe for me, that would be bread. Like if they bring bread to the table, I'm like, wow, wow. I'm like Cookie Monster with the bread. So, I just don't have it at the table. If I don't have the table, then it's not even a temptation. I would rather have French fries than I would have bread. Unless, of course, I'm in Europe. When we're in Europe, I eat all the bread because breads in Europe are very different than the bread we get here in the United States. Facts. I know you're probably wondering, how much protein do I consume per day? What is my calorie count? What does it look like on a daily basis? Okay, so let's start with macros. I no longer track my macros. And the reason why I personally do not track my macros anymore is very much because of a principle known as the protein leverage hypothesis. And this hypothesis is often credited to David Rubenheimer and Steven Simpson. And the hypothesis is that when people such as myself are just focused on getting their protein macros in, that you can become so consumed with that you'll overeat all of your other macros. You'll overeat your carbohydrates. You'll overeat your fats. And that certainly was true for me. I mean, if I hit my macros for my protein each day, I typically was eating way more calories than I needed to, number one. Number two, it became so stressful. Like eating became a math equation. Eating became, I don't know, it took the joy out of it. So about a year and a half ago, I just stopped tracking. So for those of you who want to know how much protein I consume per day, I don't track it anymore, but I think I'm probably over 100 grams of protein most days, and that's appropriate for me. I'm sure there are some days where I don't come close to that. I'm sure there's some days where I'm maybe like 60, and other days maybe I'm over 130, but I don't track it anymore. I really look at my body composition. I focus on protein because I want to build muscle. I also do not count my calories. I do think about my portion sizes. There was a time when Brett and I were going out to dinner and we would order something on the menu, and I'm eating just as much as he's eating, and he's 6'1" and I'm 5'2". Like, this makes no sense that we'd be eating the same size portions. So now what I do is whatever comes to my table, and sometimes if you're like me, you've just been conditioned to think like, oh, I need to finish my plate. So now what I do is right when the meal comes, I will give like a little portion over to my husband because I know he always wants more protein. That reduces the size of my portion a little bit, and I'm still going to be completely satisfied and then some. In terms of my calories, as long as my clothes fit nicely and I can tell that my body fat is where I want it to be, I know I'm on track. I rarely weigh myself. In fact, I didn't even realize that over the course of last year, I was like steadily losing weight because I just never weighed myself. I could tell that my clothes are fitting looser. For me, again, weighing myself can dictate my mood. And I don't want to be in a bad mood. Like, I don't want to get on a scale and go like, oh, wow, I'm up 2 pounds, so I'm in a bad mood. When it could be water retention, it could be related to, bathroom usage, if you know what I'm saying. It could be related to so many things. It could be related to inflammation. It could be related to my digestion. And so I don't need to get all caught up in what's going on the scale. I know how I feel. I know how my body looks. I have a sense of where my body fat is, and I check my body fat probably every 3 months now, and that works for me. I'm not saying these things necessarily will work for you, but if you are a woman over 35, you really do need to focus on increasing the amount of fiber in your diet and to make sure that you're getting enough protein to build the muscle that you need to improve your metabolism and change your shape. As I said, my husband is an incredible chef. He makes some delicious meals, some of which I shared with you here. But if you're interested in seeing some of the ways that he cooks for the two of us, let me know. Drop your comments below this episode, and I'm sure we can convince him to do like kind of a cooking version for us. If this video was interesting to you and you want to learn more about how it is I phase my diet and the concept of diet phasing, I would highly recommend the episode, which I will link below in our show notes. And if you're struggling to get enough protein in your diet, I highly recommend the episode that I did specifically on that, like how much protein do you really need? You can click here to watch that. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next one.